Your hosts are The Great Order and No White Guilt. And this is the after party. Only 5 minutes late with all of the difficulties that we've been having today. It is a miracle. The crown winner of last week, as you all know, we always have a crown winner. Last week goes to White Student Transmission, who financially gifted $60 US. Thank you so much. Good brother, a great champion. We have in second place another great champion, Slots, who financially gifted $50. Thank you so much, and congratulations to you. A big congratulations to both of these wonderful heroes in service to White Wellbeing. Now, in a moment, you will be able to watch the stream and financially gift on Entropy, and I will have that up. You can also put questions and statements into the question widget over there on Entropy when we have it up. Now, it is at a cost of 15% to you, which is passed on to the good people who protect freedom of speech at Entropy. You may also financially gift on Cash App, and that is at zero cost to you or us. You can find the URLs for both in the description below. Jared and I evenly share the financial gifts with our guests on the after party, as you all know very, very well. Now, we are having a few difficulties, and I'm actually in a different room in my place because of some work that's being done on some nail pops. And it's a mess. So I had to bring some other streaming gear into this unused room and streaming today. So that was enough of a issue. But now we have Jared George is unable to get sound on his end. But we do have our one and only co-host extraordinaire from Down Under. The lovely Porridge is with us, ladies and gentlemen. Porridge, could you please tell folks who you are and where they can find you as I continue to try to get Jared, his mic up and working, and also open Entropy. Porridge, the floor is yours.
Well, good day, guys. It's great to be back on stream with you, at least one of you for the moment, and hopefully we'll get Jared on soon. But it wasn't too long ago we had a chat, but there's no place in the world I'd rather be than on the after party and with our community typing away there in the chat. Hello to all you guys too. Most of you will know me from the channel Ruination Media, and I haven't uploaded a lot of videos there recently, but I've been working on other stuff with School of the West and several other projects. So you can find me that way at my email, lovelyporridge@protonmail.com, or on Twitter, lovelyporridge.
Brother, what's going on down there news-wise for you all? That I know I heard a lot about the lockdowns. Is that continuing? Is it getting worse?
No lockdowns now. I had a few cases here and there, but no, everything's good down here in Australia. We're all pretty much free. And in fact, I woke up to the news this morning that the anti-whites have been defeated in Australia. And I thought, oh, why didn't someone wake me up? I would have liked to have seen that. But we recaptured our destiny, and I slept through the whole thing. But that's okay.
What happened?
Oh, we've won. That's it. It's all over.
That's all good.
No, I might be laughing a little bit, I think, but that seems to be popular at the moment. So we'll see if we can get you guys a few more viewers if we do that.
Yeah. I mean,
actually, you wouldn't believe these guys on BitChute, if you've ever looked over there. These guys were the most popular channels, and they're saying that Trump's actually in the White House and Biden's been arrested, and everything you see on TV, that's just all deep fakes, and actually everything's great and going according to plan. And these guys have millions of views, and it just goes to show like they have so little hope for the future that they've retracted into this dream world where they can just pretend everything is great. But we don't have to do that here because we want to deal with reality. So we can talk a bit about reality on today's show.
Well, that was so there are a lot of people saying a lot of ridiculous things. But this thing about Trump being in the White House and still being president is so absolutely just bonkers that it is revelatory. Well, it's revelatory of Bibbs, the Biden-induced bipolar syndrome. Westerman says it's a good thing I asked. He says the mic is a bit hot. I wonder how I can make it less hot. Should I put a few pounds on it? Should I make it work out less? I mean, how do I do that? Let me see if I. Okay,
well, you
I'll
must
do
be
this.
talking about me if you're saying it's a bit too hot.
You're saying it's hot. How about now? Is the mic any better now? And then we'll see. Yeah, I wouldn't be even bothering with this mic, but I wasn't going to try to bring everything out. I had it all covered up with plastic, so the sanding wouldn't get anything on it.
Well, it sounds all good on my end, and at least we've got you on, because once your mic goes, then I'm in a bit of a sticky situation here.
Then you'll be running the show. It'll be the lovely Porridge show from now on.
I'll just sit here reading the comments because I'm not good at just talking off the cuff.
I'm probably just too close to the mic. I can check this. I'm trying to fix Jared's audio, and I'm not having. You know what? I'll just. There's only. There's only so much. We'll try that. We'll see if that helps any. Jason looks like he's in the same room where he recorded the new NWG intro video. No, but it's close in a way. It's close. We're gonna fix. Come in. We're gonna fix it just like this.
All right, I guess we're just gonna have to do it this way.
Oh wow, what's going on here? Now wait a minute.
Just not a little business somewhere in the United States, in the interior.
I remember this video you made on April's Fool where you were pretending you were brothers in the same apartment. Now, is there something you'd like to tell us, whether that was a joke or not?
Well,
good memory.
Not the same apartment, but vertical neighbors. So I think that's what's going on here again. See, either we're traveling or we really do live
in the same place.
The apartments, one on top of the other. You're
doing Jason's renovations, are you, or was that just a bit of a fib?
Well, I needed some extra work. The room might not be ready for a while. Handiwork is not my first love, but he needed it done cheaply, and I need a little extra cash. So there you go. We're doing our best.
Try not to be too noisy because we're trying to stream here, Jared. So you can.
Well, I heard you needed to make the mic less hot, so I'm here to do that.
Here to help with that. Well, we'll go ahead, I guess, and we'll just pick up like we normally do, where I will pass it over to Mr. George so we can begin to talk with you about the subjects that we had discussing prior to the show today. So, Mr. George.
Yes, Mr. Köhne. How are you? How is everyone?
Good.
Oh, well, let everyone know that we have another first on tap right now. Another Bizarro tap, Twilight Zone tap. Oh, Porridge. What you were starting to talk about comments and kind of the general mood of things. What have you been seeing? We spoke to you in January, as you said, but a lot's gone on since then. What has the kind of your finger on the pulse been since then, both in Australia and what you guys get from the U.S.? Because then at that point, we didn't even know what was going on with that election. That was 100% above board, of course. Give the ticker, give the disclaimers. So what have you seen in the last few months in our community, in the general world, of how the temperatures changed and how narratives keep changing? What are you observing? Because we know you're very observant.
Well, I think what Jason said about Biden becoming president would have effects on the whole world, that's really becoming a reality. And the things that is going on in America in regards to your, I think it's the CIA who looks after terrorism, is being reflected into Australia now, and it's probably at the recommendation of these guys that the budget in Australia to monitor internet talk has gone up by, I think, 2 billion, around about that. And
monitor internet, $2 billion.
Well, it used to be mainly focused on Islamic ISIL and Al Qaeda, but they've made the change now that they're going to dedicate 40% of their resources now into nationalism and nationalism extremism. And how they're going to make up 40%, I don't know, but they would have to basically have an eye on every single person who says anything mildly white positive, I think, in order to do that. And they're going to have to justify that budget at the end of the year, or the end of the financial year. They're going to have to say, well, this is what we've done. This is who we've arrested. This is who we've been monitoring. So it is similar to what is going on in America. And we have a lot of the critical race theory really being pushed hard now into the schools and into the media, and everybody wants to make a comment on it. So, but then
Are you seeing any pushback on the critical race theory?
Yes, I was about to mention that yes, people are really alerted by this, and they're very worried about what's happening. And there's so little trust in the media and so little trust in the government. And when they hear about how they should be really fearful about, the biggest danger threat to America and Australia is these white guys who have different opinions, I don't think that really, they really are in on that. The most radical people, the most radical anti-whites really swallow that, because we don't see it anywhere. There's nowhere where we can look where we can see that's happening except on TV. And the same with this racial theories that they're pushing in schools, that these kids are not oppressing anybody. All they want to do is, play Fortnite and kick a ball around, and people can't see that and associate that with something evil. So yes, I think there is pushback, and it's just a matter of us getting the right narratives in there, because if left to their own devices, people kind of cling on to these terrible narratives, and we want to avoid that.
Have you seen any in that vacuum, our narrative and perspective coming in to meet that? Are these people looking around for that?
No, not so much. Not unless I'm there holding their hand to take them through it. They'll usually get to the wrong conclusions on their own by saying that we should, when white people are abused, they say that we should ignore race and it shouldn't be an issue. But the problem is the people doing this are not ignoring race. So it's no point you just saying, I'm going to ignore race. It's on the table when it's an issue, and they're not going to stop talking about it. So you either defend yourself and you either reject anti-whites and tell them what they're doing is wrong, or you can't really, taking a neutral stance is really going along with what they think. So that's something, if we want to change that, that's something that the outreach team is doing a good job on as far as they can. And Nate Terrific is doing a good job of organising people, of getting that message in there, so they will have the type of narrative necessary to defeat anti-whites.
Yeah, without question. And you are there for these people. I just got to tell folks that, and hello to everybody who's with us today, and please share the link so that folks can join us here on Tap tonight, a first ever Tap exclusive.
And
So-
I can't check my messages, my chat too much, so it might be better to @Jason @NoWhiteKilt as well to get both of us. I don't want to be looking down at my phone the whole time, so I'm not as on the chat, but I'll do a little bit.
Yeah, tag the both of us, and we have a monitor up with your chat. It'll be up most of the time. So if you tag both of us, it'll come up here. We'll see it for both of us, as well as Jared's phone, which we'll be looking at a little bit while we're together tonight. But I want to tell folks, if you are not aware yet, that Lovely Porridge made 2 videos so far for School of the West, and Brant Danger. I think Porridge, I haven't had a chance to open your email or your message yet, but I think you said that Brant pitched the idea, and then you rolled with making it about our people as well as educational for the children.
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about it. How it started was Brant Danger messaged me and said that, since I have the vocabulary of a 6-year-old, and I didn't say that. He said, because I like to make...
very clear communicator.
Yeah, I like to make videos clear and simple. And so he said I'd be a good person to make a video for School of the West, on School of the West, on the subject of Australia. And I said, I'll go one better than that. I'll come up with a style and format. So this can be a series that celebrates all our nations. And
Nice.
we decided we wouldn't go heavy on the facts, because I reckon with education, if you present something as being cool and interesting, it makes people want to find out more of the topic on their own. They'll go out and research it for themselves.
Right.
So, yeah, it's more of a celebration of Western kind, and it's more focused on what our people do for fun, what type of strange foods they eat, stuff like that. But if you do want a deep video on the subject, I'd say go and check out Jared's video that he did about a year ago, Who We Are. That's a very deep insight into who we are as a people. But this is a very simplified version of that. And actually, Jared...
Both of these guys were narrators for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
I'm not in front of my computer, obviously, but if the moderators could find that link, you could drop it in the chat. They would. It's not on my YouTube anymore because that first YouTube got destroyed, but you could find it on the afterparty.tv or my site.
Yeah, actually, Jared helped me come up with the name Meet Your People as well, and that's the name of the series. And I'm getting community support to help with that info. I'm working with a Norwegian right now, and we're working on an episode for Norway. So this is a community project, and we're getting a good response. I was really humbled by Jason's reaction when he played them on Going Free the other week. I wasn't expecting that, but I did find... when I was doing this, I found it hard to find videos about our nations that didn't include some anti-whiteism or some snide comment to put us down.
Some stain in the past, some original sin.
Yeah,
instead of just something wholesome that kids can begin to be proud of and, like you said, want to learn more about.
Especially about our histories, they'll say, and often they might try to doll it up a bit later. They'll say our histories were bad, but we're good now because now we've imported all these other people, and what it means to be a Norwegian or an Australian is that you come from many different cultures and you're many different peoples. But we don't allow that kind of stuff here. We especially don't allow white kids to be told that their history and culture are a joke or their people are oppressive. And that's why I think Brant Danger is doing a really good job with School of the West. And it's important because, one of the hard parts of making these videos is actually finding pictures of bloody white people, because if you search for Welsh people on Google Images, for some strange reason, it gives you a bunch of Africans. So, you won't get any anti-whiteism on School of the West. Brant Danger won't allow it, so don't even try. But you will find positive depictions of Western kind that will make you feel good about who we are, and that's what we want you to feel. So if your mods could drop a link to schoolofthewest.world in the chat, and his Proton Mail is schoolofthewest@protonmail.com. And I just wanted to ask people as well that if you'd like a video done about your nation and your people as part of Western kind, get in contact with Brant, and we'll line you up, and I'll eventually get round to that. But we just want to show that Western kind, we are a people, and the anti-whites recognize that we're a people. They reckon we're a big family, a big evil family. Yeah. But we want to show you that Western kind is a big friendly family. That's what Meet Your People is about.
Well, folks, if you have not seen the videos that Lovely Porridge has put together, you have to watch them as soon as possible. And if you have children, You have to show your children these videos. The pain, really, when you see the beauty and the health, the alternative lives that we could have lived. When you see that, for me, it absolutely it was simultaneously a moment of just great love and victory for our folk, and knowing that our white babies were going to be able, at least the lucky ones, would be able to see this video or videos, and then learn that they are a people with many countries around the world, and what that would do for them. But at the same time, you can't help but instantly recall what we went through and what we were taught, and how opposite what these videos that Porridge has produced, how opposite, how antithetical they are to the anti-whiteism that we were dragged through as children. And I couldn't help but think about what kind of childhoods we missed out on. We don't get to live again. I couldn't help but think about all the things that we could have done individually and collectively, all the accomplishments that we could have had individually and collectively, that none of that ever happened because we were taught anti-whiteism, because we were taught that we were an evil people, because we were taught that the sky was not the limit for us. It's only the limit for all the non-white children out there. The dungeons, the hell is the destiny for us. This is what we were taught. And the juxtaposition was powerful for me, and actually brought tears to my eyes. So I strongly recommend that you all, if you haven't seen these, watch these videos. And please, let's laud lovely Porridge for this magnificent work that he's done, Service to White Wellbeing, and Brand Danger, working together to make this a glorious and epic endeavor that will do so much for our people right now and on into the future. Rest assured, when the anti-whites see videos like this, they are absolutely going to come unglued. When they see people playing the villain, they don't care. They're happy with that. But when they see people doing things like this, knowing how much pride it's going to instill in our children and their parents, our communities, and therefore unity of action, unity of thought, unity of objective, they will despise that. They will want to put an end to it right away. The more attention they bring to this kind of work, this kind of endeavor, the lexicon, the dialectics, we've demonstrated again and again that they end up doing our work for us. They end up spreading white well-being for us. And it's happening globally as a consequence of this being a global effort. We're a global people. And that circles back to the point of these videos, is to point out that we are, to our young, and even to you, no matter how old you are, you just try me. You watch these videos and see if they don't touch you in a way that you haven't ever been touched by a video of that length. They're very profound. And you just try it out and see if you don't suddenly realize how much more you would have been capable of, and how much more that we as a people in love, hope, and redemption are capable of globally. So a big round of raucous emojis for lovely Porridge for that endeavor. We really salute you. Thank you so much, and looking forward to you and Brant working together more, and really looking forward to more of those videos.
Porridge, have you ever done anything for children before? Or is this your first for?
No, not really. Look, I tried making a children's book, and it's really hard to have a kind of complex storyline and make it simple. But that's what I've always been about with my videos, is making some kind of complex subject really simple. And most of my videos are at like a 4th grade level of reading and writing. Most people don't even notice. It's not that I'm speaking down to anybody. It's just that's actually hard to do.
You never sound like you're speaking down, but they're very clear, and it is good for mass communication.
Yeah, because that's just how I appreciate information. And when people talk to me in complex terms, I read between the lines sometimes, and it ends up being confusing. So I do have that kind of personality that works for kids. And I'm really glad at the response I'm getting for Meet Your People. And yeah, Jason's words really encouraged me to make more of those. But also the other thing is that what we learned at school about our nations, if you look at what kids are learning now, it's actually much worse. And that's something I found out in researching this, is that when I go onto YouTube and type in about some beloved explorer, you'll get these videos that say, the real story of Captain Cook. And when you hear them say the real story, that means they're going to rewrite it in the most negative way possible. And this is all the dirt we found on him. And they're really incentivized to do that with our history, to find all the bad things they can say. And a lot of people kind of have this smoke satisfaction from that, everybody loves this guy, but really he was bad. And I realize that. And so all you guys are wrong to like him, but I know better. That's the kind of stuff you're getting on YouTube, especially the more amateur historians now are saying that there was all these aspects of our history, all these heroes who we think were good, but were actually bad. And here's the real meat you're going to get from this video. So, yeah, it was a bit of an eye-opener for me as well to find out how it's been ramped up even more, the anti-whiteism. And it's not even that these guys might want to harm our people. It's just that they're being incentivized to do that, and that's how their mind works now, which is quite sad.
Yeah, it's this little cottage industry. People think they're clever to find the real history, but what they don't realize is that there's a template that's been set for them in these. Well, we're just going to find, exaggerate, make up, and dilate all of the negative aspects of any of these people who are celebrated in Western history for any reason whatsoever. Ignore anything that's beneficial. So you're doing something salubrious and uplifting, beneficial, and like roaches scattering when you shine the light on them. What Jason was saying earlier, it's incredible how people have a visceral, strong's not even a strong enough word, funny enough to say it that way, reaction to that kind of thing, to that kind of approach. And it's something that people that are new to this sometimes miss, is they think that when you play the bad guy, like Jason was saying, and we've been talking about here a lot, you get called all these names, and on one level, you might think, oh, I'm doing the right thing. I'm over the target. I'm over the target because I'm getting flack. Unfortunately, it's a little more complicated than that, a little more complex than that. It's a manufactured kind of flack going over the target. There are a lot of people who want us to be saying those things, want us to be playing the bad guy, want us to be focusing on exaggerating the worst aspects of ourselves and the role that's been cast for us as villains. And so the flack, in a weird way, is kind of disguised praise, because our detractors want us to be doing that. People who are subverting us want people like us to be doing that. The kind of visceral reaction, the very, very pointed, emotional, crazy reaction that you were speaking to a moment ago to something like what you're doing with those videos, something that's unimpeachable because it's just pure, it's crisp, it's clear, it's direct, it's positive. There's nothing else to do than for these people in their sick world and their sick hearts, unfortunately, is to reel at it, because there's no other angle they can take. They can't frame you as the bad guy. They can't call you out on this or that. All they can do is just kind of like a bug on its back, just flail around and revel in their own anti-whiteism.
Yeah, they a lot of these guys, the Ant-Nats will say, well, they're going to call you the bad guy anyway. But there's a big difference between being the bad guy and someone calls you the bad guy, and being the good guy and someone calls you the bad guy. They're two completely different things.
That's a very say that again. Yeah. Say that again, please.
Well, there's a difference between being the bad guy and being called the bad guy, and being the good guy and being called the bad guy.
Yeah.
We want to be the good guys who are called the bad guys, because that really amplifies what we have to say. And I think people tapped into that a little bit with that message, it's okay to be white. What that was doing was that was exposing, because these anti-nationalists have been so vile for so long, all the anti-whites had to do was point and say, look at them, look what they're saying. But they kept doing that, and they've kind of made a mistake, because they've said it's okay to be white. They said, look how vile that is. Look how disgusting that is. And I think that was a mistake. And it exposed how they feel about us. And you'll also find that they can't just quote us anymore. And with this article that Jason read recently, they had to annotate everything he said and said, oh, he said white well-being, which really means this. And this is what he really intended in the message. That they're having to tie themselves in knots to
telling you what to think. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get to this point. They can only expose the fact that they actually hate white people. It's an ugly thing, but it's a reality we have to confront. It's okay to be white might have been a step in the right direction. I remember Jason told a funny story, though, or maybe not so funny, depending on your sense of humor, about how a non-white, I think high school student, right, was asked about it, and he was on news, and he said, yeah, it's okay to be white, just don't be racist. And unfortunately, even the "it's okay to be white" thing when he phrased it that way, it kind of brought a lot of people right back corralled into the fold, because a lot of vagues, a lot of just average viewers out there saw something like that and thought, yeah, a lot of these people put out the "it's okay to be white" thing. Yeah, of course it's okay to be white, but they're doing it because they're racist. And, look at this 15-year-old non-white kid. He was clever enough to figure it out and say, oh, that's cool, man, whatever, just don't be racist. So there's still, I understand there's good intention maybe behind it, but
it wasn't perfect, was it?
Even that, we're constantly sculpting things. We're constantly sculpting language and approaches that are more and more airtight, more and more foolproof, where you really can't attack it without it's like those martial arts that use the force of the attacker and redirect them. You cannot attack it in any way, shape, or form without immediately exposing yourself as just a vicious anti-white.
Yeah, and I think the same has happened for all these hate symbols that the ADL has been classifying. And it became a trolling campaign to get as many hate symbols as you can. And just the other week, our football team, a few of the guys were pummeled by the media because they held their hand in the OK type of sign. And I think people recognize that as absolutely ridiculous. And I think it's where anti-whites have overstepped their bounds and have started to react with the same hysteria as they used to react to ant-nats doing vile things. Yeah. These things are just very benign now. And it's revealing a lot.
That's kind of the two fronts. I spoke to more how it's going to that plays off of the anti-whites a moment ago, that we're constantly sculpting things that are more and more foolproof and airtight. The other side of the coin is what you were saying a moment ago, Porridge, where the vague out there, the person who just consumes mainstream media out there, the people, the millions, tens of millions who are just on our doorstep, yet to wake up, about to wake up, we want to, the other side for them is to show them, to present ourselves in a way where when we are cast as the bad guys, with your brilliant phrase right there that we have to do more with, I really like that. And I see people talking about it in the chat, where there's a big difference between being a bad guy and being called a bad guy versus you're actually a good guy and they call you the bad guy. In the second instance, when you're actually the good guy, like what we're trying to do, but you're called the bad guy, what happens is there's the cognitive dissonance that the people out there are going to see. So the more and more that we all work together, this is why we develop this together. This is why language is crucial. And we know language is the frame on which, the field on which we were taken over. The more and more we can have these little darts of kryptonite that just gets right to the heart of the anti-white messaging. It can't be attacked, without exposing the anti-white attacking it, and at the same time reveals to the vague out there that there is a cognitive dissonance when we're called the bad guy, where you don't have to really know all these different facts and figures. It's simple for the average person, but most people with normal sensibilities can look at what we're talking about being attacked and say, something's not right here. I don't really see what these guys are talking about, how they present themselves, the whole package. It's not anywhere nearly as evil and bad and scary as it's pointed out to be. Eventually there's going to be, we're getting closer to it, a tipping point where there's exponential growth charts where it's going to meet enough people and enough circumstances where the dam's going to break. And average people are going to say, this makes sense. This isn't evil. And anyone that is attacking it is really exposing this absolutely irrational, sick hatred of the white peoples of the world, peoples of European descent, and the diaspora places that we've gone. And that's when more and more is going to start to snowball.
Yeah, and we should also point out that we're not doing this to trick people. We're not being optical to hide our views. This is what we actually believe. And I'm anonymous. I can say whatever the hell I want, but I don't have those feelings. And when I make Meet Your People videos, I'm not lying about our people. And I'm not saying anything bad about any other group of people. But that seems to be something that the anti-whites don't quite know how to deal with that yet. And I used to have the mistaken belief that the very most villainous playing guys, they'd be taken out first and censorship would creep up. But that we don't see that happening. It's not like that. It's not taking a step from the most extreme, working their way backwards. It's going everywhere all along. And Jared lost his channel, even though you couldn't possibly find a single thing on there that would be wrong. And yet at the same time, there are people on Twitter, and I think, how are they getting away with this? Or they're saying some really edgy stuff, to say the least. But I think when we are, when we do speak with love and that, we can still be sabotaged. And I think we're finding that these Hollywood types from the past are making a big comeback. And it seems like very good timing, doesn't it? And I don't think we can just ignore them. People say, well, you do your thing, we'll do ours. But the problem is that really, do you agree with me that reflects badly on us in the end, and it's pretty much unavoidable?
Well, it's funny because we were talking about this a little bit privately earlier. It's not as simple as saying you stay in your lane, I'll stay in my lane. I mean, Jason can speak to this certainly more than I can because of his years and years of experience, but I'll just briefly say it's for concern for a lot of young guys who are going to ruin their lives, families' lives, end up in jail. He's seen it. He knows people who've been in jail for decades who got duped. Maybe their heart was in the right place at first. They see a problem. They feel helpless. They want to help their people. They don't know where to turn. Unfortunately, they go down certain avenues. You're told this is the outlet. This is what you do if you want to be active, if you want to do something, make your voice heard, make a mark in the world. And it's a honey trap. It's exactly what our subverters want. It's exactly what the people who want to make examples and get those collars want to show, hey, look, this is what happens if you go down this path. And it's ruined lives. So it's not so simple as just saying, oh, you stay in your lane, I'll stay in my lane. We have our way of doing things. You have your way of doing things. When it comes to people who are singing this Pied Piper song and like lemmings leading people off of a cliff, that at best has already proven it's not going to work, and it's not dealing on the field that we were taken over on, or our people were brainwashed on. That's at best, and at worst could ruin lives, have people end up in jail. There was, go ahead. I think you had something to say on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, Jared, that for more than 2 decades, I was just speaking about what was working with Going Free, the lexicon and the dialectic. And These guys would consider that staying in your lane. You're just doing your thing. And I watched all around me people going down these lanes that were good folks, their lives getting ruined, committing suicide, going to jail, getting on drugs, etc. And what a joke it is for some of these. It's really infuriating that they'll say, "Oh well, no, these other groups are this nationalist, and when the old school nationalism, the one that was defeated, had us all fight each other and until our best were depleted." They'll say, "Oh no, well they joined and they got better. They gave up alcohol for a week, and then they started something heavier, and then they got right back on alcohol." It's such garbage. I've watched it for decades. Lives absolutely destroyed. So the whole idea here, when these people say, is just stay in your lane. When I discuss these matters, and the rest of us who discuss these matters, when we are talking about these things, and I personally have not been saying specific group names. I specifically have not been saying this group is XYZ, don't do it. I've criticized behaviors that ruin lives and behaviors that do not get us from where we are to the recapture of our destiny. And so they then see themselves in those criticisms. They're admitting that they are engaging in the behavior that I'm criticizing, and that I develop credible arguments and that are demonstrable over the years of the different outcomes of pursuing those thought patterns, everything from the individual life, the organizational effort to achieve its so-called objectives, the way that the public sees us, the ease with which the anti-white media is able to portray us as villains. All of that comes to bear when I talk about those things, when Jared or anybody else talks about those things. We haven't been naming any groups. So the fact that they show up and say, well, things like stay in your own lane, is just an admission that they've lost the argument about what is the most successful route to success, the recapture of our destiny, and what is going to be best for the individual as he or she strives to recap. We have so many people. Jared and I were talking about this today, and yes, we're in the same room. I saw some people wondering if there was some kind of a split screen. We weren't in the same room. We are in the same.
Want to give each other a high five?
Yes, we're in the same room. So, and one of these days, and we should be really excited too. I want everybody, actually, the entire TAP community, to get really excited over the fact that Mr. George and I have been doing this show for 3.5 years, whatever it is now, and we came together as old friends, as we like to say, and in the future we're going to be able to be in a place where we'll be able to have me, Jared, and Porridge in the same room, and we'll get him a mask to wear or whatever. We'll get him a medical mask,
whatever you're comfortable with.
Whatever he's comfortable with.
You get a second knock at the door.
Oh,
Yeah, another knock at the door.
That would blow people's minds.
That would blow people's minds. Okay, all the way from Australia.
Straight from down under. Maybe a kangaroo mask to represent Australia.
Carrying a koala bear or something. No, but we have
chewing on eucalyptus.
That's right. We have victories every single week. We're having victories, and we need to be enthusiastic about that. These are victories in changing people's lives. Are victories that are epic. Victories in people's families that are changing their lives, that are protecting their children, are epic. Victories in collaborations like Lovely Porridge and Brand Danger, those are epic. Those are going to touch first hundreds of lives, then thousands, then 10,000s, then hundreds of thousands of lives, and we will continue to be able to push them out there and absolutely metamorphosize the milieu in which the conversation takes place, in which our people see ourselves. And they have a choice then. Are they going to see themselves as the villain, or are they going to see themselves as the hero and the victor in our story? So we need to be celebrating. This is a really exciting thing that we're able to do. And even now in the United States, in the midst of the lockdowns here and gas shortages there and vaccines over here, even in the midst of that, Jared, George, and I are able to get together, have a splendid time, smiles on our faces because of all the success that we're having. We don't submerge ourselves in this, the doom documenting and the doom dissecting that goes on all day long. This is another big step.
Good vibes wherever we go.
Yeah, good vibes wherever we go. And we have, and that is how we all have to be. That is how we all, and so many of you are sterling examples. This right now, I'm looking off at the wing monitor on this laptop. And this chat is full of people who are becoming their own centers of gravity for white well-being. This has never happened anywhere at any point with any group across all of the white sympathetic sphere, no matter how brilliant or no matter how cunning or no matter how handsome or whatever their leaders were. Nothing like this has ever happened. We are the ones having success. We need to keep pushing it. We're having a marvelous time. I see maybe Bartleby just showed up, said, howdy gang. Yes, we're in the same room together. And it's going to continue to be a pleasure, and it's going to work with Mr. George. It's going to continue to be a pleasure to work with all of you. And I'm looking forward to each of you becoming your own center of gravity and reaching out into your circles of influence so that you can bring more into this fold. Now, remember, into this fold, what exactly does it mean? It means that at a minimum, those people you're speaking with begin using some of the lexicon and the dialectics. We see how successful they are for the individual, and where it works for the individual, where their lives are improved, they're going to keep using it, even if it's not on every TV show. So that's at a minimum. But then for some, you'll be able to get them to actually go free to begin the practice themselves. Their lives will really get changed as a consequence. And then they'll begin doing things in the world that are big enough to be able to have them appear on tap with us and sit in lovely Porridge's seat where he is today. So that's what I'm looking at. Jerome V is there, and Raymond Van Buskirk, and Simon, and of course, Elaine, the great Elaine. So many wonderful people, and so happy. White Healing. So happy to be with everybody who is making a genuine effort, and Mr. George here, all the success that we've had a glorious and absolutely epic, glorious day today. The weather was beautiful. You all, it would have been wonderful to have each and every one of you with us over the course of the day. Great conversation, magnificent company, seeing both the good, the bad, and the ugly of the world around us as Western civilization is descending into the squalor. But we're discussing the entire time actionable steps that we can take to continue with all of these real victories, symbolic victories, real victories in people's lives. And that is the esprit de corps. That is the movement and the heart and the soul of what we do here in service to white well-being. That's why it's making such a big difference. We need to make sure that we stay away from bibs, get away from the doom document, and get away from watching that the garbage all the time and the doom dissecting, and instead get out into the world making a difference, like lovely Porridge and so many of these champions in service to white well-being who are here tonight are. And then, yeah, you too. We'll recognize you. We'll be celebrating you. But know this, folks. You see Jared, George, and I here today. We made this happen. And in the future, it's not going to be just 2 of us in the same room. In the future, it'll be 10 of us. And it's going to be all over the place. That'll be the real difference. It's not going to just be in this city or that county or that town. It's going to be happening everywhere, exactly as it has been planned to happen. The victories are occurring. The growth is rapid on a global scale, and we continue to see the changes being made. So excited. I couldn't be more elated right now to be able to be streaming right now with the great Jared George here, right to my side, and see all of you here with us here tonight. I know we got it's a later start, but I mean, that's just, we actually did have some, it wasn't just for show. There actually was some technical difficulties, had a little bit of attacks, but I see, it looks like Bella's here, and the great Heidi is here. Western Man is here.
Speaking of initiatives and things people are doing, before I forget, I should just give a shout out that I'm wearing, this is Legio Gloria. I'm wearing one of Marcus Folin's shirts here. Beautiful linen from Lithuania. I know he's trying to use as much organic as he can. Some of his cotton products are no organic, but I have a few pieces from him. And that's just another amazing thing, seeing the entrepreneurship, the initiative, the activity from people that we know directly and indirectly. Of course, Marcus has been on this show a few times, and we always have a great synergy with him, and we're always supporting what the other guy's doing. Just one of many examples that comes to mind of the way people are pushing things forward, not just rolling over and saying, "Oh well, it's all over. What can we do?" Saying, "No, we're going to create an alternative space, alternative businesses, alternative communities, alternative arts. Really, the real. This is real. What is it alternative to? It's alternative to Hollywood and mass corporations. That's not real. That's not reality. That's not real life.
We are actually. Do you not want to be a hero in your story? I mean, it's seriously a serious question to those. I know all the names I'm seeing, the people who are commenting are great folks. You all already know this, or most of you already know this. But for those who watch in replay, or for those who are just being wallflowers, do you not want to actually live a life that has value? Do you not want to actually be more than your profession? Do you not want to actually be more than your education, or more than the title handed down to you, or the pseudo title, or whatever it might be, through your family's lineage, or the success of your father or mother, or whatever it might be? Do you not want to go out and be a genuine? When Mr. George and I were eating today, when we were walking today and conversating, we were change makers in a static environment of anti-whiteism, with these brainless vessels moving all around us. We were the ones who are planning and organizing and making the change happen in the world. That is the kind of hero that you can be. So you might drive the 20-year-old pickup truck, or the 20-year-old hatchback, or whatever it might be. And you might have whatever job it might be is miserable all day long. But you can be one of those agents for change that the lexicon and dialectics of going free enable you to actually do. So it was exciting to be out there just walking around today and conversating, because I knew that we were two of the folks who, because of these efforts, to whatever degree it's going to end up being, because of these efforts, are going to go down in our family's lore, maybe our people's lore, whatever it might be. But people who are making a change in the world. Do that if you're hearing my voice right now and you're wondering, well, should you just be some villain in the anti-white narrative and then trudge down the slope down the street, fantasizing about how one day there's going to be some great battle? That is foolish. Just stop all of that nonsense. I tell you what, if you haven't done anything yet and you're getting excited right now and you're thinking, I want to make a difference in the world, I want to be one of those. I want to be able to walk down in the town center near where I live, and I want to be able to walk through there and be the one thinking man or the one thinking woman in that entire town center. Everybody else just going through, operating on their subconscious minds. You want to be the one thinking person. But where do I start, Jason? What can I do? The very first thing that you can do, if you're hearing my voice in this video, is to head on over to Porridge. Are the two videos on your channel? They'll be up on School of the West for sure. Grab those videos and share those with every single person you know. Do that right away, and you will be making substantive change in the world. You will be putting smiles on the faces of countless white children. You will be giving strength like the wind from a gale, filling the sails of a ship that had been listless for eons, long before we were ever born, and begin going in a direction of that western sunrise. Do that now to make a difference in the world. Porridge, where can folks find those videos?
I put them on a channel called Western Friends, but really I'd like to direct people to Brent Danger's website. What is his website? It's
School of the West.
School of the West.world. Yeah.
I think it's not this.
Um,
Let me check it out.
Oh no, it's .world.
It's .world.
Yeah.
I knew it was an alternative.
School of the West .world.
I knew it was an alternative. Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll find a lot of his other material, and we want to add to that and get more people making material on his website, so that there is an escape from all the anti-white stuff. But we don't just want people to consume our content and have content creators and content consumers. The big difference we have here is we're trying to get everybody involved. And And especially one thing I've been enjoying is the outreach team, which Natarific organises and vets new members. And our time zones, they don't line up, so that's a bit difficult. Sometimes we can't all comment on articles in real time, but you can always join anytime and catch up with the ones you miss. I've got his email here too. I'm sorry, Mods, we're just hitting you with all these links, but if you want to get on the outreach team, it's White Wellbeing outreach team at protonmail.com, and they'll take you through the procedure for that. But from what I'm seeing, there doesn't seem to be much pushback from all the other commenters there, and sometimes we get some really positive responses. But there are some comments on there, and oh god, they're hopelessly lost in the anti-white narrative because they've never heard what we have to say. So, you know, there'll like be an article on critical race theory in schools, and one of the commenters might say, oh, if you keep teaching this, you're only going to make white people racist.
Oh my God.
And if we're not there, a lot of people will like that, and that will be what they'll take from this. And I have to keep my cool when I hear stuff like that, because it's like saying you shouldn't abuse a white kid, because when he grows up, he might become an abuser himself, and he might abuse a non-white child, and then that would be racist, you know.
Whoa.
So the act of harming white people is not wrong, but it could start a series of events where somewhere down the line, some non-white is harmed, and that would be wrong.
Notice pride in your own people, in your own heritage, your own history leads to that ultimate original sin. I know it does take a lot of patience, and that's why we all have to constantly hold each other accountable, and hold each other accountable to high standards. Check in, have a community like this that supports. We all slip up. You know, sometimes it's easier to just blast someone with everything that you know right away instead of trying to meet them where they are. But if you blast them with everything you know, it's just going to be like asking someone to try to drink from a hose. They're going to think that you have a totally different worldview. It's probably not going to jibe with what they've been taught. They've been taught that what you're espousing is ugly, the worst thing, and full of conspiracies and paranoia and all this hatred. And they're going to walk away. If you really want to change someone's life, you do have to be patient. I know it takes time. It's tough. But when you have a community like this, it does help. I saw Anglo America, speaking of what you were saying in the chat, say that his life did a complete 180 since going free.
Wow.
Not looking back, how he finally can take pride, see himself as a Westman, take pride in that. He was MGTOW. He admits it's public. It's okay for me to say that because he wrote it in the chat. But obviously has a bit of whatever it means to him, has a different perspective now, is on a different path, and said he's making better job prospects because there's that pride that tapping into that talent. It's an amazing thing to see all of this going on. I know, Yiz is still in the chat, even though she said she's going to bed. Yiz, I guess you just can't get enough of this historic tap. First time we're on camera together, but it's good to see you, Yiz. We love you, and thank you for staying up with us.
Yes. And how it's sort of how apropos that here is Jared George and myself for the first time on tap together and demonstrating the global reach of going free. That Jared George and I are together for the first time on tap, and our guest, another champion going free on the other side of the planet, Australia, going free. This is so, I'm so excited about this. I think it's such a wonderful, really precious moment, and for TAP, for the entire community, for going free. And I can't wait to have more. Maybe Jared and I will show up over in Australia, and we'll be there with Porridge.
Well, yeah, first we'll do a tour of America, and then it's a world tour. Well, I have to bring my guitar for that too. I'll play some music as well, because I've always wanted to do a world tour in that regard. But that's the thing, man. I mean, you're going to hear more news. I'm not going to say anything. It's not our place to say anything yet. But from our creative community, from our arts community, more going on, more victories there, more initiatives, and networks being set up so that we can meet more often. We can share not only business ventures like we were talking about, but artistic ventures. community and arts usually go hand in hand. Obviously, people that like certain artworks or certain bands tend to, that's the focal point of a gathering, social gathering. So there's only so much we can even say right now, but there's so much going on. There's so much to be excited about. But Porridge, you're our guest. I do want to hear a little bit more of just anything going on in Australia. I know before I came upstairs, I heard you talking about the lockdowns. My understanding was that different states, I always forget if you guys call them states like we do, or if you call them provinces like they do in Canada. But depending on the governors, different states had different rules. We were hearing some pretty nasty stuff about Australia last year, that it was even more draconian than a lot of other places. Now you're saying it's all freed up. I'd want to hear a little bit more about that, because some of our friends in the UK, of course, they're having a second, I think this next upcoming weekend, an anti-lockdown march in London. People in the UK are seeing through certain things going on. Certain things you have to check with CNN and YouTube, of course, but they're asking certain questions. I don't know what those questions might be, but they're asking certain questions. For some reason, they're marching through the streets of London. What's going on in Australia like that? Are people kind of complacent because the lockdowns have lifted, like you were describing, or do you think enough damage has been done where this has kind of really shaken some people and gotten them to question, can they believe everything that they see out there? Maybe is there more going on than meets the eye? Is there an agenda to kind of throw monkey wrenches into the the machinery of Western civilization?
Yeah, I think we got some of the harshest restrictions in Melbourne in the world, and a lot of it was unreasonable, even if you are very afraid of getting the coronavirus.
So it went from that extreme to now being lifted. Is that correct?
We now pretty much have no restrictions. There will be restrictions on international travel, and the borders are kind of locked down. Interstate travel, I think, is still open unless they find one case. Sometimes they might close for a few days. But I'm not a traveling type of person, so it doesn't affect me at all. And the only thing...
You're not a rambling man?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't. I've never been overseas except to New Zealand, so it's not something I feel like I'm missing out on.
Well, like Jason was saying, we'll have to come to you.
Yeah, we'll go to you.
Will they accept a couple of crazy Americans who call everyone brother, like Hulk Hogan?
Well, they might. I heard that Indians are coming to Australia. Yeah, I don't know if hopefully there won't be any no-fly lists they're making of us in the next coming years and all that, because and hopefully there won't be any of these vaccine cards and all that, because I think people should have a choice what they put in their bodies. But
we're volunteering to be the it's another thing we discuss. We're among, here's our friend, so we're volunteering to be the control group. So if we are negatively impacted by not getting the vaccine, then we have sacrificed ourselves for the good of our society. So people need to have a control group. So we are among those who are choosing to be the control group.
Well, how about you get the AstraZeneca or whatever it's called? Jason can get the Johnson & Johnson, and I'll get the Moderna, and we'll see who dies first.
How about I'll get the steak and you get the shrimp? I like that sound of that better.
Yeah, no, that sounds good to me. We'll do that.
So but go on. I mean, we're having a good time, as we should, all together. But I hope everyone can hear what we're saying, and we're not. I don't know how the mic picks up. We're like talking over each other and laughing, but I hope you're all hearing it. We're having a good time. We're having a grand old time.
Yeah.
No, but okay. So Melbourne, did you say New South Wales is the state? Is it state or province?
States.
Okay, so it is a state. So you're like the states in Australia. That's crazy that it went from most draconian to now being freer than most of the Western world. Well, I'll go back to the
Yeah.
question I asked in the beginning. Well, like, has this woken more people up? Are people asking questions? Or are they kind of going just back to, well, wow, we can go to the beach now, so that's all that matters. Well, although you guys are going in winter, but I don't even know is winter there really like winter here? Do you get snow where you are?
No, not where I
I'm
am.
throwing a lot of questions out. Am I kind of losing? We're like free fall. So I don't. I
No,
hope
that's
you all
all
are
right.
enjoying it. I mean, Porridge, I'm messing with you a little bit since you've been on a bunch of times, but I hope I'm not losing my touch as an interviewer.
Have people woken up? I think we got to the point where we reached our limits, and people were just saying, "Look, if they do this to us again, if there's another lockdown, we'll probably just ignore it and go ahead with our lives." And I think the government understood that, and I think that's part of why the restrictions were lifted, because they just couldn't justify it either. We were getting. They were making a big hype of having, there's an extra 2 cases this morning, and these people weren't, in a terrible condition. They were basically told, "Oh, yeah, you've been tested positive," and then they're surprised because I don't feel bad, so they had to stay home. And yet, just from those cases, everybody in the entire state getting locked down and not being able to walk outside without a mask, it was getting a bit ridiculous. But also, I think with this whole thing, it's really annoyed me that people are making such a big deal about wearing a mask into a shop. There's a lot of things the system does to us that is demoralizing and it makes us feel lowly. Wearing a mask into a supermarket is the least of those things. I don't mind doing that. And yet there are some people who will get a megaphone and walk into a supermarket and say, "Take off the masks." And you think, would you ever do this for a cause which matters so much more, like, white well-being? Because you should. And
Great point.
I was talking about BitChute earlier and how ridiculous is there. And it seems like the entire conversation now is about these masks. They're trying to make you wear them for this and that plan. They're going to reset the economy and all that. And when you consider those things, we have to ask, is there any way I could possibly influence that or change it?
Yeah, they're missing the elephant in the room
about
how Western civilization's been on the chopping block for far longer.
Yeah, and that we've already lost control of our countries. We no longer have our destiny in our own hand, and they're getting
on most of our minds.
Yeah,
that's what this work is about.
Well, yeah, that they're going into conspiracy theories, and really, if the system is that ultra powerful, why are they messing around? Why are they wasting times? You know, and why would they even need a silly excuse to do it? They would just do it, and there's more practical ways of doing it than what they think there are. But yeah, all of this, I'm because we are out of lockdown. Maybe this is my experience, but I feel like it's all become a huge distraction for conservative-minded people. And often these conversations, especially on Breitbart, and that will be completely focused now on just wearing masks or something like that. And I find that frustrating.
But okay, so we understand clearly when you said that a lot of the lockdown measure is it the lockdown was lifted, or are masks also lifted? Are you saying to this day, as we speak, you still have to wear masks outside, and that's still what the issue is?
No. In Australia now, as far as I know, every state doesn't have to wear masks when they go into the supermarkets and that. There might be a few small businesses.
So it's back to how life was before COVID for you.
Yes, with some restrictions on if you want to travel interstate, which is some people might do that a lot, but because it's such a big country, you're not going to be crossing the border that much, because it can be an 8-hour drive to get there unless you're going by plane. But
so even though the lockdown measures and the mask mandates are lifted, you're saying that people who would be at least somewhat tangential to what we talk about are still kind of focused on the wider world, that there's still lockdowns in other parts, and they're kind of milking this for what's generally known, under the umbrella of conspiracy theory. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think for conservatives in particular, they even if they are not in lockdown here in Australia, they still read it from these other news sites, and they have these concerns about the World Economic Forum, and there's all these theories about where this is leading. And so they've become very focused on those issues.
But none of these people ever talk about the fact that, like you said, if you guys want to hear a harrowing episode of TAP, I don't know if that's the best way to get people to listen or not, but go search the archives on the afterparty.tv. When search Lovely Porridge's name, all his episodes will come up. But if you remember last July, Porridge, you were on, and we did that special report where you found the anti-white programming in schools as early as preschool. It was disgusting.
Oh, yeah.
So that kind of thing, none of these guys really care. It's always the shadowy cabal, World Economic Forum, but it's never, our children are being taught to hate themselves. No one can ever bring themselves to talk about that.
There is an even worse narrative going around, and that is that this anti-white stuff is just a cover for what they really want to do. And so the powers are trying to divide us by race, which is a lie, because they're not actually trying to divide the races. They're trying to unite them against white people. So we should be able to dispose of that. But they're saying that, no, all these Black Lives Matters, all these protests and all this racial stuff in schools is just a theory to have us all fighting each other so they can swoop in and gain control, as if they don't already have total control.
I'm sure you've heard a lot of that, Jason, I'm sure. And as with a lot of things, it's not like there's, I would say, just speaking for myself, I would contend, okay, maybe it's not that there's nothing to that. There might be certain people that want to engineer things that way, but it's certainly not the whole story. That's the tricky thing. The lie always needs to contain kernels of the truth. But how do you guys respond to that? Maybe that's a good thing to talk about for a few minutes, because I'm sure we all are going to get that question, if we haven't already, of all the, like, just casual conversation. You might be sitting around a dinner table with your family, friends, and someone might comment, man, look at the news, all this stuff going on, all of this hatred being spewed from one side to the other. And, I don't care what someone's background is. I try to get along with people on an individual level, kind of thing. What do you say? What are some of your key responses to that perspective that they, whoever they are trying to keep people divided by race, and it's just another distraction?
I think with these conservative types, it's more they've got it back to front, that all the things they're talking about are a distraction to keep us from talking about defending the people who are being attacked, who are whites. And because they have it in their mind that the very worst thing you can do is to defend white people. And so when they want to, like I said earlier, when they say that if you do this, if you tell white children that they're the oppressor, then you're telling black students that they are the oppressed. And then they'll get this mentality of being the victim, which could harm them. Now, the reason they say that is because they have been taught that whatever you do, never defend white people. So this is what, Jared, you were saying, we have to be patient with these people and understand that they've been infected with the MPs. And so what they're doing...
Every cell in their brain is working to justify any position that doesn't end up with them defending white people.
But there is good in them, because what they're actually doing is trying to find a workaround at least. That's something the anti-whites don't care about. They don't want, but they're at least trying to find a way to incidentally say, please stop harming us. Yeah, but we are getting some good reactions from these people, especially with the OT that Naturific's organising. When they hear our message, they either back down or agree, but we don't really get some pushback on it. That's what I'll say about how people feel. What they're doing is trying to not make it about race, because the anti-whites have made it forbidden for them to defend white people. But I do have a recent example, which is actually bad with a good end result, and that is in Parkdale High School in Melbourne. They had critical race theory. They invited this woman over to speak to kids about how white people are oppressive, and she went through all the evil things of our history, all the ways that non-whites are being harmed, and at the end of it she said, now stand up if you are white, male and Christian. And she got them to stand up and publicly humiliated them in front of the other students to say that this is the enemy, these are the people I've been talking about this whole time. Now, the good thing about all this was
have a nice day in school tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is actually illegal under Australian law to vilify a person by their race, religion, or gender. Of course, the charges will never be pushed against her, but there was pushback against her, and the kids complained, and this ended up being quite a big news story. And they even had a special on it on TV. They had it on the newspapers and on the online websites, and people were just not having it. Said, these kids have done absolutely nothing wrong, so you can't make them stand up and humiliate them for something they haven't done. They're just kids. And what ended up happening was the principal really had to apologise and say, we've suspended her. We're not going to have her do this program anymore, which is really good.
Yeah,
so
that's exactly.
Yeah, Yiz has a similar victory story about how she took the fight right to a local community college and this anti-white art exhibit that was there. Another of many examples of people in our community taking action, doing things in person. Yiz has a lot of feathers in her cap. Definitely one of our heroes. I know it's kind of dicey to go on stereotypes, but as an American, I know that the rot is everywhere. But the image that we have of Australians is a little bit more no nonsense, even sitting here in 2021 and knowing people have been indoctrinated and weakened. Who even knows what diet and pollutants have to do with it? So take a look at the whole thing. But it just seems like this kind of thing would fly less in Australia, or what you were saying with the lockdowns. Like Aussies, I've never been to Australia, but as Jason said, we have to plan our trip soon. But it just seems like you're really robust people, no nonsense, straight talking, who just seem like you would just kind of throw it off your back and be like, hey, mate, what the hell is this? Like masks, mandates, get real. I know you've never been to the States, so you can't, or the UK, so you can't really compare to other countries in the Anglosphere. But do you think that? Do you think that has something to do with it? I just hold out hope that there's people like Australians. There's enough of you still that have that kind of, what the hell are you talking about, man, or mate kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not natural for us, this so-called political correctness. We are kind of straight shooters, but the anti-whites have a very clever way of bypassing all that and making out it just doesn't exist. And they do this mostly through the media. So every single celebration we have in Australia is made out that it's a controversy. Mother's Day just passed, and they made out there's controversy surrounding this day.
You do your Mother's Day in May as well.
Yeah. So
we just had ours. The UK does theirs in March,
and they do this in America as well, of course. And it can have this effect of making you feel like you're the only one in the world who's sane and everybody else is crazy. When actually everybody agrees with you on these issues.
Right.
And I think in the south of America, you have a kind of very defiant type of people, but you wouldn't know it from watching the media in the southern parts of America. You wouldn't know it existed unless you actually go and talk to the guys there.
True. Very true. Yeah, and that's why it's so vilified. Absolutely.
But yeah, sometimes they do put their foot in it, and I think that was what kind of happened at that Parkdale school, was that that teacher had seen what was going on in America and critical race theory. Yeah, it's just accepted. We all do it now. And she tried it out and it didn't quite work. We weren't quite at that point yet. And some of the schools in America are also, the teachers can be tough, but we have had some newsreader saying that she took her child out of a New York school because of the anti-white curriculum in it.
You're talking about Megyn Kelly, because that was pretty high profile. I mean, she was on Fox News. I think she went to another network. I mean, her stock's kind of fallen a little bit, I think, but still, she was a very, very well-known news personality in the United States. I mean, one of just a few on her hand that most Americans could name and recognize when she was at her height, and was a type that would interview presidents or host debates. And she got famously into a little scuffle with Trump when he was candidate Trump in, I think, 2015, when Fox News, she was on there and hosted one of the first debates. So yeah, for her to say that at one of these private high-end New York City schools, I can only hope that it wakens other parents up in those circles, even if they have to maybe remain hush-hush about it in their social circles and their professional lives. As we've been saying, this is the tipping point of the dam bursting. There's too much cognitive dissonance. It's too extreme. There's too many people that it's just going to rub against their most basic instincts to protect their own children, or not see the kind of lies being heaped on us, or not accept the fact that you're being told these people are villains, even though they're saying things that seem perfectly normal and reasonable and rational, and presenting it in a fine manner. So,
yeah, I think, though, if she recognizes that this is harmful to her child and she takes her child out of that, well, it's not over yet, because all the other children are still being harmed in that situation. Right. And you can't just say, let's leave it up to the parents whether they want their child to be harmed or not. But I prefer to take my child out. She really has a duty now to try and end this stuff.
Well, if she really, I'm sure she's invested properly. She had a high enough income where she really could protect herself largely. We haven't quite seen someone of that status do this yet. Maybe that's coming. Maybe that's coming at some point soon. Certainly people behind the scenes are ticked off and are waking up more and throwing more support. But yeah, we haven't seen someone take that next step. But I can guarantee you, not to say that she could have done more, but I can guarantee you that at least in that school, and I'm sure all the private schools in New York, all the parents in that school, I'm sure, took a second look at their child's curriculum and had a lot of private conversations amongst each other, the parents. And some of the parents probably went to the school and had some conversations and asked, what is this? What's going on here? What's the thought? What's the thinking behind this? And maybe a few of them did pull their kids out. Maybe a few of them will become activists. So you don't know. I mean, the point is that, yes, someone with her power and position could do more, but these are still little drops in the bucket. It's still something. It sets something in motion.
Yeah, she's identified something that's harmful, and that's good. But there is this problem, especially with kind of right-wing people, of thinking that as long as I have the option of excluding myself from this certain thing, I don't care if it happens to other people, because they have the freedom as well to move on from something else. We never we never try to exert our opinions onto other people as conservatives. We like to be left alone, and that's a form of white flight. And a lot of people I hear in America saying, I'm sick of this state, I'm sick of the policing, I'm going to move to another state. And they'll find in 10 years' time the same has happened there. So you've got to stand your ground at some stage. And the reason a lot of them don't want to stand their ground is because they feel as though they're the bad guy if they do that. They say, I'm going to become just like these so-called liberals if I try to assert what I believe onto the population. And this is a way they've really...
That's why we don't really talk about conservative, liberal. I I mean, I, for one, just speaking for myself, this isn't meant to point anything back towards you, Porridge, just saying for myself, I've never in my public life really identified myself this way or that way, not as an ist or an ism or conservative, liberal, whatever. It's not just not how I see the frame. I don't feel it's most useful for me to see things that way or tell people what to think about me.
No,
but you do speak to certain instincts. I can recognize. I will say I can recognize the want to be left alone thing, and a lot of people of our ilk, whether we call ourselves conservatives or not, I definitely recognize that sort of thing. I'm not the type. There's the famous thing, to your point, Porridge, where a lot of us aren't the type who are going to go march for this cause. You know, that's kind of something those other people do. They paint their faces and get banners and go want to change the world and march for this cause. So I do take what you're saying. I'm not trying to split hairs. I do take what you're saying to heart. I understand the whole instinct, and I have it myself of the, hey man, I just want to be left alone. You do your thing. But as we can see, like anything in life, you know, that has its blind spots. That has its place, that time and place where you need to be self-aware enough to say, hey, you know what? That's not going to cut it in this situation. So I have to recalibrate.
Yeah, I think there is a clear distinction, though, between these people. They've divided themselves into these groups, and they kind of think within these groups. And so you've got the Democrats and the Republicans, and the line is getting even more clear as things go along, I think, and the way they react to certain things. And I think on the Democrat side, we can almost say that is just pure anti-Whiteism. There's doesn't seem to be anybody on that side who's even concerned about it.
Even pretending to be concerned. What about just quickly? What about in Australia? Is there any white positive politics on any level, local, state, national?
Not really. No, I wouldn't say so. And the whole idea of politics is a little bit taboo here. We don't have like cheer squads. We do have all the very similar things to what's going on in America, but there isn't that clear divide as I think there is in America. There isn't that clear divide between the Republican and Democrat states, and how they go about their narratives is very different too. You know, these they'll call these people woke snowflake liberals, and you know, what is a snowflake? It's something that's unique and it's individual. And what is liberal? It's being free. And what is woke? It's being awake and alert. Yeah. So you're calling these people individual, awake, you know, freedom lovers or something. And the other side doesn't do something so stupid as that. They're really good with their slurs. They really develop their slurs and make us look as bad as possible. And
you mean they worked on their language?
Yeah.
What's that?
You mean they worked on their language? You mean language actually can change things?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Huh. I thought that was just for weaklings that are just head in the clouds and aren't doing anything.
But even in our spheres, we suffer this same illness that is affecting the Republicans mostly, is that a lot of our guys use all these stupid terms as well, and they put things in the worst possible way. I said to a guy the other day, look, if you're telling a little kid about grandma's death, you wouldn't say, oh, grandma's dead, we buried her in a hole and now she's a rotting corpse. That's just not how you talk to kids. And they would say, oh, but it's true. That's what happens when you die. That's what the truth. No, you've got to be sensitive, and you've especially got to be sensitive with white people talking about these issues, because they've had 50 years of brainwashing, decades and decades of brainwashing to dismiss everything you say. So if they've got that combined with you being really, you know, I don't want to use the word autistic, but just, I don't know, don't know about social norms.
It's very cold and it's not socially intelligent. And it's not the story, and that everyone learns through stories. Everyone frames the world through stories. Everyone has a story for themselves, even if it's very subconscious and not really something they're aware of. And that's what you're essentially saying with the corpse thing is this. I've talked about this myself. It affects all kinds of things. It's, you don't go out with a woman and sit across a table from her and say, you know, I think our pheromones are compatible, and on a subconscious level, or I guess subconscious is not the best word, but on a level we're not consciously aware of, we're sniffing each other's pheromones, and I think we're getting signals that our immune systems are compatible, which could one day portend us having healthy children together. So I would say that this date is going quite well. Wouldn't you, Janice? Is that how men and women court each other? No, I mean, technically that stuff might be true on one level, but to me, I don't think that's the only thing going on personally. I think we're mind, body, and spirit. So that's a whole other conversation, but it relates somewhat to this in a more indirect way, is that a lot of things have gone on to conspire to make people, I hate to use the internet, to use it in the internet term. I know it's really not using it in the scientific medical term, but as you said, autistic. And that's just in internet parlance to say just overly analytical, overly methodical, to the expense of the full complexity and beauty
Obsessed
of what makes us. Yes, they get obsessed with this one little thing, this one little aspect of life, and act like that's the whole key. And not having a holistic approach, I think, is really just throwing people off. They get like dogs chasing an ambulance, what do dogs chase? Ambulances.
the lawyers.
Lawyers chase ambulances. Dogs chase
Cats.
cars. Dogs
Cars.
chase cars and then don't know what to do with them, and they catch them. That whole thing. They get on that. The internet is full of this. This is what the internet is. Yeah. This is what social media is. I mean, I see people having some side conversations in the chat about MGTOW. It's like you get these overly specialized groups that they say things and you hear it for the first time. Maybe it fills in certain blanks you had, and you say, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yes, women can be like that. Yeah. I'm a young man trying to figure out women. But you're not getting this whole other picture. You're getting this little piece, and that piece of the mosaic might be a legitimate piece of the mosaic, but you're not getting the whole mosaic. You're not getting the whole picture. So you end up with these extremely lopsided and imbalanced views of things. People think that they have it all figured out because they got this one little parcel of information. It's like that old saying that a little bit of knowledge can be a dangerous thing. That's not to say I have it all figured out by any means. We're all learning together. We all have blind spots, but that's one of the things that propelled me in a broader sense to get into all of this, is to try to engender a bigger, richer sense of harmony of everything going on here. Because it seemed like a lot of that was being lost in the modern world at large. Certainly narratives about our heritage, background, peoplehood fit very well into that rubric. And obviously it's one of the most dire things going on. So naturally, most of my energy turned to that. So that's a little bit more of a background about me for anyone who's new to me. If you're not new, you might have heard me say stuff like that before. But yeah, we see it all the time. People led down these paths, led by the nose, by this romance, they're seduced by this little bit, these little breadcrumb trails of knowledge they get. This is how the internet can be so dangerous for people. And then they think they have it all figured out. They think they have life figured out. They think they have this master key, when it's really just one key on your key holder, and you're supposed to have 27 other keys. And you have this one key and you think it's the one key, gets people into trouble.
Yeah. And, a lot of these guys will say that no matter what you say and no matter how careful you are in saying it, the anti-whites are not going to show mercy to you. You're not going to appease them. And, of course, we don't care what anti-whites think. I only care about what our people think. Because we're going to need our people if we're going to pull off any type of victory. And thankfully, there is a way of speaking that makes people very open to what we have to say. And you can read about that and go free. You can try it out after you've read it. And instead of people thinking, if I agree with this guy, that will make me a villain. If you use the right verbiage, people will think, if I disagree with these guys, that would make me immoral because I'd be forced to justify harming white people, and I can't do that. And that's why you can see he is talking to Matthew Christensen, I think his name was, and Jason was talking to Jeffrey Doherty. Yeah, and these guys, when you speak to them and when Yiz speaks to them, they say, yeah, I can't disagree with this. This all sounds very reasonable to me, and it all sounds very moral to me. And so
it has to be moral. That's the thing. Our people, it has to be moral. That's the first thing we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, the way some of these guys act who play the role of the villain, if they were to go back to their favorite time in history in Germany in the 1930s, those German people would tell them to rack off. They'd say, get these guys out of here. We don't want to listen to them. And it's still the same today, except the only difference now is that those same people have undergone decades of anti-white propaganda. They'll tell you to get lost 10 times as much as those 1930s people would. So if you're playing the role of the villain, you are part of the anti-white propaganda, because all the media has to do is to point at you and say, listen to what they say, look at what they look like, and that's all they have to do.
Yeah, very well said, brother. Folks, I should have asked earlier when we began streaming if the stream was strong for everyone, but I assume it's been. I haven't seen complaints. Anyone saying that the stream had popped off for them or that it was lagging for them. If there is some unusual case here or there, that might be the problem of the receiver rather than, in this case, the sender. So I guess I should be looking up there. That's where the camera is. I'm usually looking over my camera, and now I'm looking under the camera.
Hey, we're discombobulated. We're in a new place. It's true. I haven't seen any complaints either. Everyone seems to be thinking it's a nice, normal stream,
which it is, and it's epic. Because
it's not just normal.
It
is special.
And we have our guest co-host with us. The first time Mr. George and I are together, we have our guest co-host with us, Lovely Porridge. Everybody should follow Lovely Porridge on his channels, and we'll make sure that you all have all of that information, and tell everyone as well that in your circles to follow Lovely Porridge. We're getting closer to tapping out. We used to call this overdrive. We've gone well into overdrive.
What happened to that? What happened to overdrive?
We could bring overdrive.
We even had a graphic for overdrive.
We did.
Put a 1 in the chat if you've been with us long enough, where you remember the car, the screeching of the tires, and this little overdrive. We used to do a longer show where the standard would be more 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's more an hour and 15 of talking to the guest, and then we get to super chats. Depending on how long that takes, we usually wrap up by an hour and a half. Sometimes it goes a little over. We used to do 2 hour. We used to do a whole 2 hour interview, and then anytime there's like periods in a sporting event. Every 15 minutes was another. Was it 15 minutes or half an hour? It was a period of overdrive.
Right.
We go to
it was a half hour.
Double overdrive or triple overdrive. Someone made a graphic for us. But put a 1 in the chat if you're donning armor. John Ludwig have been with us a long time. That was the first year. It was a TAP 1.0.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit into the second year. I don't know. I have to check with the TAP historians. This is another one for the TAP book. Yeah, when I said normal, I meant technically normal. That the audio, video is technically normal. But this is anything but a normal show. First time we're appearing together.
Extraordinary.
On screen.
So will we get to see a bit more of the adventures of Jason and Jared?
We're thinking of doing I don't know if we're going to have enough time to do a video. We can't disclose too much about where we are and what we're doing. But whether sooner or maybe another time, maybe outdoor, just a little hello. People seem to like that kind of thing. Give a little positive message.
Mm-hmm.
But see two guys they know together doing things in the real world. A little morale booster.
Yeah.
I think we're due for another one of your little skits, Jared. So maybe now's the opportunity to quickly write one down and play it out.
do it right in person. Yeah.
We could have had a skit earlier, but we won't tell anybody about it. It definitely would have been a heck of a skit. And it just got weirder. But I really want to say quickly before, folks, if you have any financial gifts, you have to get them in now before we tap out. Questions or comments with those gifts will absolutely be read before we do tap out, and then we will check the question widget as well. I want to mention that I think Fernald lost his channel today.
Yes.
Okay, so Fernald lost his channel today. So let's give some love to Fernald.
Follow him on Odyssey. Let me, as you speak, I'll pull up his Twitter and see if there's any specific instructions.
Okay, we'll find out. Judge's gonna find out about that right now live. But yeah, it is, again, we mentioned this being censored. We have to treat this for what it is, which is burning the books, burning the work of one's life. The anti-whites would treat it like this. They would have poetry about it. They would have books about it. They would show you in made-for-TV movies the artist, the creator, the author, the whatever it is, working their fingers to the bone, hour after hour after hour. And I want you to imagine, those of you who know Fernald, working his fingers to the bone, hour to the staying up late, going with less sleep, having to work a job, having to pay taxes, having to pay the bills, and every moment he can to get away and work hour after hour after hour. Not just at the machinery of making this thing work, the things work that he wants to do, but learning the software he needs to know, learning the skills he needs to know to be able to apply them to the service of white well-being, lying in bed, thinking about what's going to be my next project? How do I circumvent the next challenge? What now can I do in service to white well-being? All of those hours are set on fire by the anti-whites.
Snuffed out.
And you cannot get a minute of your life back. It's gone. That is what the anti-whites do. And it's not enough to say, of course, anti-whites will trivialize it. They'll say, well, if he has it backed up, he'll just load it somewhere else. No, you're building an audience. You're building a place where your store, your entity, your work exists. And to set fire to that and destroy it is supremely immoral, unethical, and it should be criminal, especially in the Western world, where freedom of speech is enshrined in so many ways of our customs, our laws, our norms.
It's cowardly in that regard.
Yeah, we should absolutely be talking about this for exactly what it is. And it is the theft of a man or woman's life. Their efforts can never be reclaimed. So if you can steal from a person their life, giant segments of their life, that is an immeasurable crime. We need to talk about it for what it is. There should be songwriters out there who can hear my voice now in service to white well-being. Maybe one right now in the White Art Collective or joining the White Art Collective. We'll write a song about this sort of thing and how it is the theft of one's efforts, the theft of one's life, the theft of one's hours that could be spent somewhere else in life. And they're giving it selflessly. Nobody's getting rich. They're giving it selflessly off the protection of our weakest members, particularly our children, our people in toto, their feeling of duty to our people for those who have gone before. So the knowledge and the self-awareness that there were those before you who live still through you and who gave their lives, their blood, their treasure, their efforts in so many countless ways so that we could be here today, so many of us now, to decide to live these hedonistic lifestyles, the dirt bags, every single one of them. We need to talk about this for what it is. And so my heart goes out to Fernald and for everything, all the work that he's done now stolen from him, set to fire, put to ash by the anti-white bastards. And why, folks? Why do the anti-whites censor the great work of our champions? They censor the great work of our champions because they've lost the debate of ideas. They've lost the debate in philosophy. They've lost the debate of legality. They've lost the debate of ethics. They have lost the debate of fairness. They have lost the debate everywhere you look. And so the only thing they can resort to is silencing, is cutting the tongues out of our mouths, stealing the days from our lives. That's all they can resort to, because they know that if our brothers and sisters out there are able to hear what we have to say, the anti-whites will lose control over them. That's why they censor us. That's why the scum anti-whites at YouTube censored this champion in service to white well-being, who doesn't, who loves with an unbounded love, who cares with an unbounded concern and care for our people. These are the kinds of people who are being victimized, and we need to tell their story or it won't be told. So that's why we stress so much getting active. And I'm going to tell you all right now, again, as we're counting down to tapping out today with this absolutely glorious, epic, record-setting tap with Jared and I together with our guest co-host on the other side of the planet, lovely Porridge, a brilliant man. I will tell you all right now that this is the reason why we all have to invest ourselves, our time, our effort, because if we are not doing it, it's not getting done. 2 decades, I have been in service to white well-being, over 2 decades. And I have been with all of those people that you probably know as the celebrities or what have you, throughout the white sympathetic spheres. And I've been at their gatherings. I've been at their moments of the birth of this idea or the birth of that idea, at the first day of this organization or the first day of that organization. And in every single case, I could tell, and so could others, that ultimately the endeavor was fruitless, that ultimately it had gone before. It was just a new iteration with a new set of clothing, with new sets of clothes put onto it, and a new name stamped on its forehead. We are making the change that has never been made before throughout these decades. And we're not going to be quiet about it. We're not going to hide our light under a bushel, as they say. We're going to tell the world because we want the rest of Western world, Western kind, to move with us in this victorious direction. When they get together, our brothers and sisters, wherever they are, on whatever continent it might be, it's going to be like Jared, George, and I. And now, rest assured, you go ahead and think of any of the names you want across the white sympathetic spheres that you've read before that you think are so, their minds just coruscate, or they're so brave, or they're so villainous, or whatever it might be. Think of any of them, and I will tell you this: I've been present at their conversations. It was obviously nobody who didn't comport with my morality and what they were endeavoring to do or talk about. But I will tell you this: with those individuals who at least seemed like there was the most hope or the greatest hope, and perhaps there was nothing like the productive conversations that Mr. George and I were having today in person. The synergy, the energy of our meeting and talking and ruminating, cogitating on these things, infinitely more productive. And that's what happens when you get together in service to white well-being with the state of mind of the lexicon and the dialectics. There's no stopping us. You can't go wrong when you're going right through going free. So become a participant in the practice and service to white well-being, the practice of going free. And I'll check quickly now to see what we have. We'll jump over to entropy first. And it looks like we have...
Oh, I just have one thing about Fornall.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So he did lose the channel, and the only thing that he said was he redirected to Odyssey, so he is focusing on Odyssey. Okay. Someone asked about hate speech, and he said it actually wasn't cited that way. For some reason, I don't know if this matters one way or another, but I'll share it anyway since it came up and he shared it on Twitter, that he was cited for spam, scams, or commercially deceptive content not allowed on Susan's channel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's in fact. We got a strike for that. I got a strike for that same bogus. That's just.
I forget what mine was.
In other words, it's. Oh, you're having. See, this is the thing, and Lovely Porridge makes a great point, folks, about the censorship, and many of our folks are aware of this. They note it, that the people who play villain roles in the anti-white narrative. They are permitted to have channels. They are permitted to function because the anti-whites know that they are deleterious to the recapturing of the destiny of Western kind. They don't mind them being out there. They are only ever deleted from channels when it has been a specific set of attacks or a specific set of words that at that moment were the triggering words And therefore, so for example, when MLB was, just look at that backwards, when that became
Baseball.
like the favorite topic, speaking out in a really vicious way toward them was an easy way to have an anti-white just get angered and to delete the channel instantly. Otherwise, these people are left alone, so that they are the people who, when our brothers and sisters go looking for an answer, they are where our brothers and sisters end up, and they're not going to want to have anything to do with these folks. They never have, and they never will. And people with normal sensibilities want nothing to do with villains from the anti-white narrative, because of everything else that the presentation, the speech, etc., means to them and what they've learned over their lives. So let's jump in here quick. Yiz, the eunuch, financially gifting $5. Thank you, Yiz.
Hi, Yiz.
And she writes here, I'm normally in bed by now. And now she sent this early in this epic stream. I'm normally in bed by now, but I made sure to pop on and folk tithe for great, lovely porridge. May all our gods bless and give him wings to soar. Thank you, LP, for all you do for our people. Good night, and God bless everyone. Kip. Well, Kip indeed, sweet lady. Thank you so much for that.
Yes. Lovely message. It's very touching.
Indeed. And she comes back again at $3 this time, Yiz the eunuch. And she writes, this is a little bit later in the stream, in regards to the recent bans, my channel got a strike this week. So listen to that. And they removed some of my videos. Also, the hashtags I use for White Wellbeing were magically gone from most of my content. Yeah. So all of these folks who, I guess there really aren't that many anymore, who want to claim that, well, they're allowed to operate because they are, those folks going free, because they are something that's going to undermine the ability of idiots to be villains. We are constantly under attack. The computer itself was attacked. So we are constantly under attack, and we just fend them off. We don't whine about it as much as others do, and we keep moving forward. Really sorry to hear, Yiz. It was the same thing holds true for Yiz as holds true for Null, that these videos being deleted, and obviously they're getting rid of the hashtags. We've seen this in some places where the anti-whites, smart anti-whites, will see the verbiage we use, and then they say, "Oh God, you got to get rid of that. Don't let them talk like that." Well, it's too late. The white well-being genie is out of the bottle, and it is spreading the lexicon far and wide around the world. So it's just going to wash back and forth now like water in a tub. There's no escaping it. Yiz is back with another $3. Thank you so much, Yiz. $3. She says, Jared's right. Haha, once I had my laptop out and heard the three of you and felt the love of this community, I decided to stay awake and visit for the whole stream. And a white emoji heart. Thank you so much, Yiz. Thank you for all of your service to White Wellbeing as well. Let me jump over here now. We will refresh Cash App. I know we have the great Slots is over there.
I don't know if it was Jerome hit an @Jared George, but I'm not seeing all of those. It's because mostly we have Jason's monitor up. Maybe it was Raymond. Yeah, there's a few, but I'm just so you guys know, I'm not seeing most of the @Jared George's. So you might want to, if you want to say something to me, also tag Jason.
Yeah, tag me and then add Jared's name.
Can I comment on censorship as well?
Go for it, yeah.
Because I've been experiencing the same thing. I thought I was about to lose my channel, and there's not much we can really do about it, but it's seeming like now the idea of building up your platform and building up your audience is not going to work because it's going to be erased straight away. And so the only way to really buffer against that is to move into community projects where if you've got a really good piece written, try putting it in White People's Press. Or if you've written a really great song, try to publish it on White Art Collective or educational material, School of the West. We have these little projects going, and of course you can do that at the same time as trying to build up your individual platform. But these guys are going to be much better to get you back on your feet when you've been deleted from any area, because you just plug straight back into the project again and you get to work. And that goes for all these people who type comments and replies. They can all get actively involved in that as well. So as long as we stick together, we'll be much stronger than if we're just all individuals.
Beautifully said. Yeah, very well said. And it is that multiplicity. And this is how the OE, the organizational entity, operates. We don't say a lot about the exact machinery for its operation and the growth of that operation, but it is definitely not an outgrowth of the old systems or a continuation or new iteration of the old systems that the anti-whites have learned a long time ago how to defeat quite easily. So we've done something very different. And we're going to talk right now about a big celebration. Get out your raucous emojis for the one and only Sloths, ladies and gentlemen, who just financially gifted $120. $120 by the great Sloth. What a champion. What a great champion he is. And he's always active. He's always at work in service to white well-being. The trenches that I see him in most often are on Twitter. So God bless you, brother, for your service to white well-being. And thank you so much for that $120 financial gift. And I don't know if you heard, Jared, but on the Going Free the other day, Sloths shared that he's had 3 promotions in the last year and a half, and he started Going Free a year and a half ago. So he said, at some point I need to recognize that the discipline and the focus of Going Free has enabled me to get these promotions. And this isn't the first time that I've heard about people getting hired, getting promotions, getting raises after Going Free. So it's the exact, what happens when people go villain? They end up getting fired. They end up taking a job for less money than they were able to get before, because now the 4 years, 6 years of training or apprenticeship or whatever it was, they can't work in that trade or profession anymore. So instead, when you go free, these sorts of things happen to you. What a big dividing line between what has not been working and what has been. And again, we're not talking about any specific groups. We're talking about activities, language, and outcome. And that's just the way it is. That's just the truth. So thank you so much for that, Sloths.
Thank you.
And we're going to be here for another few minutes. So we're going to take some questions over here in the question widget. We have Mestizo is with us, and he has written here, "Hail Tap, hail lovely Porridge. Despite how chaotic the current year is, I am filled with much more hope for the future than I've ever been in previous years." God bless you. That's fantastic. Mestizo makes magnificent memes, folks. If you haven't followed his memes over there on Instagram, you should follow him on Instagram. They're damn funny. And there are a few that are extra funny recently. So please do check him out over there on Instagram. Mestizo, if you write your Instagram ID in the question widget, I will tell everybody your name for our Instagram. Joe says, I talked to a friend of mine who is Greek, and he said his mother was not considered white when she first immigrated to New York. Well, it looks like this is more of these questions. There is this unnecessary divide within white sympathetic spheres. It's sort of like the same issues that you have between paganism and Christianity, completely unnecessary. I don't know, first of all, if that claim is, when somebody showed up, when your mother first immigrated to New York, that means it was not a very long time ago. Even if you were an older person, it wouldn't be that long ago. So Greece was obviously occupied by more than just the white race at that time. So is your mother actually not white, or is she white? When you say Greek, we believe that means, we know that it means that you are a Westman, a member of Western kind, because of the biospirit that is inside of you, that is manifested in the civilizations, the cultures, that the different hues of Western civilization that we built. If she came to the country, she's white, she is a genetic Greek, if you will, and then she was categorized, if that actually happened, as non-white, then that was obviously done by some sort of fool, because Greeks have been coming to the United States and categorized as white forever when they're white. So that would be an error made by someone. But I think to the deeper point, yes, and even if this is some sort of a setup question, you know, for the are the Southern Europeans? Yes. All Westmen are members of Western kind. It doesn't matter whether they're from Southern Europe, Central Europe, Northern Europe, Russian. They all are part of our family of what we call Western kind. Some people prefer to say that if they're Northern, they say, well, then the Southern Europeans are cousins, and if they're Southern Europeans, they say the Northern Europeans. I think that's unnecessary and foolish, because again, the dividing line is not a little bit of a difference of skull shape than the majority of the white people in the country, or a little bit of different hue of skin and the predominant hair colors or eye colors or whatever it is. That's not the dividing line. The dividing line is what we project as our biospirit onto our world around us, and therefore in aggregate is our culture and civilization. You could put white people on Pluto and they will build Western civilization, just like you could put the other races, as lovely as they are, wherever they would like to be, someplace lovelier than the Earth, I would imagine, and they would build their civilization without any influence from us. So yeah, Joe is saying it was in the 1960s. So certainly Greece had plenty of non-white people who are paper Greeks, is what some refer to those. Doesn't mean they're any less Greek, and doesn't mean they're not contributing to Greece, but it just does mean that there's a difference between those who are Greeks, citizens of Western countries, because they have the spirit inside of them that creates Western civilization, or because a piece of paper says that they are a citizen of the country or countries in particular.
Yeah,
so
I think
go ahead.
Sorry, I think a lot of people are really exaggerating this because it alleviates their white guilt, and they think, well, I don't have as much white guilt because a long time ago we weren't even considered white, and that's how they get around it. And that's why you hear this amplified much more than it really should be, because Greeks came to Australia under a policy where we only allowed white people. So there, I suspect that. I'm not saying that's what his grandmother was saying, but I think they're really exaggerating that to alleviate themselves of white guilt.
That's a great point, because I've seen, and we also, I mean, in America, we have everybody of our parents' generation and older, every single one virtually. You could say it because it's nowhere close to being hyperbolic, since it's so widespread. Claim to have American Indian in their heritage because they wanted to shed the white identity. They wanted to be some other race of people because the white identity was evil. And then you had in the United States, regrettably, I mean, still, I have friends today who will say that they're not white, they're Italian, and I just say, are you joking? Are you absolutely kidding me? And it is just like you say, lovely Porridge. They're just trying to say that, well, I don't want to have the identity of Western kind. I'm something a little different, and so don't blame me. Don't make me have to. But of course, they are forced, just like every single other white person, to suffer under anti-whiteism. And so it's just a foolish thing to do. But it's a coping mechanism when you don't have going free, when you don't have the lexicon and dialectics of going free. It's a coping mechanism. So let's get to those people when they say such things. Let's get to them and make sure that they learn about going free and white well-being, and then they'll stop saying such silly self-destructive things. We have get your raucous emojis out. We had the raucous emojis out for sloths a moment ago with this $120 financial gift. Get them out again for Heidi and Raymond, financially gifting $50 US. Thank you so much, sweet lady. And she writes here, keep the faith. Well, we absolutely will keep the faith.
Thank you, Heidi.
Yeah.
Raymond.
It's easy to keep the faith when you see something work again and again and again and again. it's easy to continue to believe. Thank you both so much. And of course, Raymond is here moderating over the course of the show. And thank you for that. Joe just adds, I'll just take a quick look. He says, how I convince he is a part, I guess, a part of Western kind. I don't know who
I guess his friend who had the Greek mother who wasn't considered white, he said.
How do you convince him that he is a part of Western kind? Will he be victimized? Is he victimized because of he is a member of Western kind? Is he discriminated against? Is he persecuted? What are the reasons why he would consider himself not a member of Western kind, except or excluding this desire to attempt to evade the white guilt, evade the identity of a member of Western kind? Is that what he's really doing? He's trying to be something else, because to be a member of Western kind is to be evil in the anti-white narrative, and to be somebody else is to be victimized by that evil group. So pin him down on that. Is this really what you're trying to do here? Are you just trying to shed that identity? And maybe he'll see the light. You can let us know one way or another.
And to appeal to a positive side of it, aside from, because there's the layers of identity we talk about, aside from him being Greek, which of course is different than being Norwegian or being Spanish, let's say, are his people one of the epicenters of Western civilization? All of these different European peoples can all have a meaty claim as they're a centerpiece of Western civilization. They're an iteration of Western civilization. So you can ask him, he can answer that. Obviously, the answer to that is yes. Then you can begin to bridge that identity of maybe him only seeing himself as a Greek, but rounding it out to that wider Western kind identity as well, and fully taking that on board.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Let's jump over to Joe. Just finishes here by saying maybe his friend is trying to stay in good graces with his anti-white employer. Well, that's fine. You can, if you have to take whatever step you have to take to be able to protect yourself at your place of employment, you need that sturdy base of employment to be able to pay for the things you need, the food, the clothing, etc. So do what you have to do to be able to function in service of white well-being. Mestizo's Instagram is Instagram.com/KARFPEZION/. So just rewind that if you need to hear it again, and check him out. His memes are hilarious. Mr. Porridge, good sir, tell us where folks can find you, and what your final thoughts are on this historic tap where Mr. George and I are together.
Well, for now, you can find me at Ruination Media on YouTube. And I'll keep you all updated of what's going on, what new projects I do. And we're all part of a community, so we all know what each other is doing. And I really encourage everybody to get involved, because there's a lot going on right now. And just imagine in 2-3 years' time, how much stuff we'll have going then. It just keeps amplifying. And the types of projects we get involved in, we want them to make people feel happy and to get excited about it. So it's not a chore. It's something we enjoy doing, and it delivers positive results. Because we never want to create a community where people say, oh, I want to break from this. I need to take a month off from all this stuff. No, we want projects that fill people with positive energy. And Jason and Jared, you're doing a great job of attracting those exact type of people who can do that. And more will come in as we go. So thanks for having me on the show today. I'm glad I got to see this very special show, and I almost fell off my chair when I saw you two come in. But that's a great episode, and I always enjoy speaking to you and look forward to the next time we do it.
Beautiful, brother. Thank you so much. Yeah, that was magnificent. And of course, you, with your long memory, immediately remembered the episode where we had Jared hearing the noises from me dropping the The juggling balls.
Jason was juggling April Fool's Day,
Yeah.
2019 with Philosophicat.
Yeah. And let me, before I pass it over to Mr. George to give his final thoughts and where folks can find him, let me thank both Raymond and Bartleby, who were both modding over the course of the stream today. A big thank you to our mods, all of our mods. And if I missed any of them today, then I apologize for that. But if you were there, a big thank you to all of our moderators. Let's get a round of raucous emojis for our moderators and give them some real love, because we see all the time that aside from the fact that we are always on interview for those who are coming in and having a look at us for the first time, and more now than ever, our brothers and sisters are coming in and they're curious, what is this all about? Let me check it out. And they're going to be looking immediately. What do you all do? What does everybody do? You immediately look to the comments to see, well, what are people saying about it? Well, if people show up and they see a bunch of villainy type comments, which do not represent us and what we do, they're just going to leave. They're just going to want nothing more to do. They're going to think they know everything they need to know about us. So the moderators do a magnificent job, and they're fair people. They don't always, they're not perfect, but they're fair people, and we deeply appreciate them. Yeah, I appreciate you all giving the applause to our triumphant and glorious moderators, our redoubtable moderators who have to put up with and have so much patience very often. So thank you to you. And I saw Raymond Foster is here too. So what? Just nothing but champions tonight. But Mr. George, what are your final thoughts, and where can folks find you?
Well, first of all, Porridge, it was great to speak to you, and we definitely wanted you with us here in the driver's seat as we pulled this little prank. That wasn't, well, it's a joke, the entrance, but not really a prank because we're really here together.
Yes.
But this fun, epic, first time historic episode. Anyone, as I said earlier, you want to hear more from Porridge or anyone else, everything is cataloged on the afterparty.tv, our shared website. You can go type in different guest names. You might be surprised to see who has been on over the last 3+ years. You might say, oh, I wish this person was on tap, only to type in their name and find out that they were a couple of years ago. When we spoke, unfortunately, about Fournull earlier, again, please do follow him on Odyssey. It's relevant to the fact that we back things up in a more robust way. Nothing's 100% guaranteed, but a more robust way. And the way the videos are embedded on our site do not pull from actually any of the social media platforms. So we're trying our best to keep it very foolproof and be something there that you can go back to or you can share with people for years to come. So that's the afterparty.tv catalog of this show going free that Jason does, some other videos and some extras as well. My site is thegreatorder.com. All the different streams, all the different creative projects I'm involved in, ways to get in touch. Please bookmark that page as well. We are on social media, so we might as well use it. And it's a good way to share with people. So if you want to find where I am, it's all listed there. I think it's called Find on the menu. And also when you're on the main page on the right side, if you're on a desktop, there's social media links, or you can hit a more menu on the bottom if you're on mobile. And there's my social media links there as well. So more creative projects coming, definitely more music coming. Look out for that. But had a lot of fun. And share, everyone. As I like to say, we need to be the algorithm. So if you like this, tell someone about it. Tell someone about it in person, write under a comment, share it on different social media. A lot of this is still peer-to-peer, and we all have our ways to participate, big and small. But thank you again. It was a lot of fun, and we'll have more surprises for you all in the future. Hope you had a good time. All of my love to you, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, and I extend love as well to all of you. And thank you all so much for being here today for the Historic Tap.
Oh, and again, just like being on the red carpet, what are you wearing, Jared? Marcus Folin, this is Legio Gloria, one of our great members here, making top quality garments made in Europe. So go check out what he's doing. He was on tap, about 6 weeks, 2 months ago, something like that. Yeah. He's been on 3 times now. but he's doing some great things with his nutrition company, with his Legio Gloria clothing, always setting a high standard, setting a high bar. That's the kind of thing we need.
Yeah, absolutely. Do that, folks. Make sure you head on over there and follow Marcus and check out his clothing. Indeed. Thank you all so much for being with us in service to White Wellbeing, on tap with us. A big thank you to everybody who financially gifted and to everybody who participated in the conversation today, even if it was about a conversation that had nothing to do with what we were talking about. But thanks so much for being here. And thanks so much for being a part of what is, for me, an absolutely great memory to be able to be with my dear friend, brother, and love you much, brother. And
I got you.
Be here on tap together, being able to stream with the great, lovely Porridge and have all of you with us. We're moving forward, folks. We are having victory after victory. This will continue. We will recapture our destiny, and you will be in the stories of our children. We look forward to seeing you all again next time.